are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%.
So they're talking about reparations, and she's getting frustrated because he's saying you can give Black people reparations and it's not going to change anything. I don't know why she's getting frustrated, because let's be for real. We have had several forms of what would be considered reparations. You don't have to call it reparations. I was out and about in these streets during the scamdemic. Okay. And when I say scamdemic, I'm not even just talking about the higher ups. I'm talking about the fact that I know several, too many to count, Black people who got PPP loans. Who got PPP loans off of fake businesses. And did they take that money and reinvest it back into their community? No. Do you know what they were buying? I know a lady who got 3 PPP loans and she was blowing the money. Black woman, always on that social justice stuff. She bought a Bentley Bentayga. She was on Sprinter vans every other weekend. She had a ball where she did so much crazy stuff with that money, right? I know y'all know I was working in the club at that time. So many men who got the PPP loan, they saw that as their opportunity to come blow a bag at the club. They were just spending money, throwing the money up in the air. Y'all see them getting caught on TV, buying jewelry, buying Lamborghinis, buying cars. One of the singers from Pretty Ricky went to jail. So it's kind of, I've said this before and I'll say this again. If you just give reparations, because honestly and truly, I don't think that we are owed reparations, because I didn't do any slave labor. And I'm going to go into that because she's going to make another argument that I'm going to counter here. But I personally don't think Black people now, today, in 2025, are owed reparations. Now, I do believe that the slave owners should have paid their slaves reparations after the Civil War. I absolutely do believe that they should have paid their slaves some type of severance. But unfortunately, that did not happen. And people today of all type of ancestry who have come to the United States, a lot of white people came to the United States after slavery. And even before slavery, the vast majority of white people never even owned a slave. There were a lot of white people who were against slavery for various economic reasons. Should they be forced to pay a debt that they don't owe? Let's continue.
For example, we have the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that Black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education.
Okay. Hold on. Let me let her finish.
But they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Yeah. Statistics lie all the time.
So she doesn't understand why people don't like her. That was very condescending. And again, this is something she thinks she's having original thoughts, but this is something that the vast majority of liberals do. Whenever they cannot refute your argument, they resort to the ad hominem attacks about you being uneducated or where did you go to school? Like it's always this classist argument, and they don't understand that that's a turnoff for the vast majority of people. And just because you call somebody uneducated doesn't mean that you refuted what they said. As a matter of fact, if they are so beneath you and their education makes you far more inferior to you, then you should be able to take the focus off of where they got their education and direct your argument towards refuting their argument and be able to make your point. But when they can't do that, they automatically try to disqualify you before they even attempt to make a point. And I don't like that, right? So what I like about this show, Jubilee, is that they fact check on the side everything that's talked about. So they're gonna continually fact check her throughout this whole entire life. And I like that he brought up the point that there have been other groups that have been discriminated against, but they continue to keep going. And that's true. I love that he brought up Asian people. Let me tell you, if you talk to like Asians from Asia, like if you ever had a Vietnamese friend, or my brother's grandma was from Vietnam. I've had several Asian friends. They don't believe in all of that depression. I'm not saying it's healthy, but they don't believe in things like depression and making excuses for as to why you don't get things done. In their culture, if you go to school and behave the way we allow our children to go to school and behave, their parents will literally first of all, they'll get jacked up at the house. Let's be clear. Their parents will disown them. They don't play those type of games. And nor will you ever see them in the public marching or defending any of that. You never see Asian people in mass marching outside to defend bad behavior. So she's going to try to dismiss what he's saying, but a lot of the reason why, despite a lot of the things that Asian Americans have been through, not just in our country, but in their own countries as well, they are more resilient and more successful. And it has a lot to do with cultural norms and values. And she does not want to concede that point, but it is what it is.
So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, compare.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie.
It's interesting because she's a black woman saying stats lie, but if she were to bring up the stat that black women are the most educated, she wouldn't say that was not.
Because people like to say stats are a lie depending upon whether or not the stats are convenient to their argument. And in my opinion, it really matters not. And I've heard this argument that she's making, oh, the stats are lying. I've heard this since I was a child. Oh, they're lying about the crime rates. Oh, they're lying and saying Black people make up only 13% of the population. There's way more of us here, but they lied to kind of keep us mentally bound. And what I don't think they understand is that nobody has to do that. Nobody has to lie to us about how many Black people that there are. Nobody has to lie about crime stats. It's like, I don't understand how, if you are a Black person who has lived in a Black neighborhood, right? Especially an impoverished Black neighborhood, but even now the suburban neighborhoods are terrible. I taught in one, their children are terrible. Is it all of them? Absolutely not. But it's enough to where it is a problem. Then you would know those stats sound just about right. When I was teaching in a Black suburb, mind you, this was not the ghetto. Okay, this is a Black suburb. But I will say a lot of those kids' parents were a generation out of poverty. I can count on my 10 fingers the number of kids who I was like, this kid can read, they can comprehend what they're gonna read, they behave all the time, they never give me any problems, they're respectful. The amount of those children who would just casually engage in crime, taking photos, this is suburbs, taking photos with pew-pews in the picture, threatening to unalive other children. And at this point, it ain't even just the boys, it's the boys and the girls. Like, that's normal. This was regular conversation that I was hearing on a daily basis as a teacher. It was to the point where, as a teacher, they say take all threats seriously. When this is what you hear coming from hundreds of students all the time, you can't even report it because this is just regular talk. This is how they behave. And you have people like Amanda Seals who wants to pretend like she can't go to any hood and even the suburbs now, and they're running amok. And the parents are allowing it.
saying
Good
that was
point.
debunking
Good
your
point.
argument, but I just noticed a lot of times when you get these black radicals and pro-black people and they talk about the negative statistics about black people, they always say it's a lie. But
Always.
I think that we all know as black people that
We know.
we're more likely to have a crime committed against us by another black person. I believe we should know that. I mean, they could probably be likely to fight you and beat you up and assault you and steal from you. And
I had a white person try to fight me one time, and she was a child in the mental institution that I was working at. That's it. But like out in the free, I've never had a white person ever try to physically assault me or anything of that nature. No, I've never had a white person. I've never been afraid of white people. I'll say that. There have been several times where I have just been minding my own business and somebody that is supposed to be of my same race wants to fight me just because of my skin color or just because they don't like the way that I talk or they don't like who I'm hanging out with or you didn't like what I put on when I walked out the house today. So, when you live in certain environments that you always have to constantly be on edge because there's always somebody that is looking to pick a fight. It's just the reality. And you don't know until you move out of those environments that everybody is not living like that. Everybody is not walking around on edge because they're expecting for something to pop off.
possibly kill you.
I'm just trying to figure out how white people can benefit off that stat.
Because they're gonna pay, they can benefit off of it by painting black people the bad guy in her book and pinning you down and oppressing you with fake statistics.
But how would that help you?
White supremacists.
No. But like from their perspective, from her perspective, how would inflating a stat help a white person in any way?
It helps them by dehumanizing us.
But how did it help them get money or get anything? You didn't get it. It doesn't help at all. I really don't see
I
that.
guess that's
Why are they
racism. It's racism.
No, but okay.
The argument is that this is what most of them say. The argument is if they can make black people feel inferior, then it causes us to behave in ways that are destructive, thus keeping the prison system full. That's the whole theory there. But I'm sorry, we don't really have a culture that promotes not staying in prison. Like, we have to take responsibility for our cultural values. And they're going to bring it up later on in this live, but for example, in the Black community, you could have went to prison for unaliving somebody, selling illicit substances to children, laying hands on the mother of your child, anything like that. And we will openly accept you back. But if you are a Black conservative, that is the worst. That is the absolute worst thing. You will be excommunicated. If you are a Black conservative who is a law-abiding citizen, who is respectful, who is going to work, paying your dues to society, going outside and carrying yourself with class, dignity, and respect, they will outcast you just for being a conservative before they outcast the people who are publicly embarrassing us. And that is not to be blamed on white people. That has everything to do with what we choose to value as a culture. And yes, it is a representation of us as a whole, unfortunately, because when that behavior is acceptable and even applauded more than good behavior is, the rest of the world looks at all of us, even if we don't feel that way, and goes, okay, well, that's what's acceptable to y'all, right? And then you have people like Amanda Seales, who are the loudest in the room, and people think that she speaks for us all.
Okay, so racism used to be, right, real racism was, okay, let's hold them, redlining, things like that will actually affect your life. But lying about a stat, how would that help you?
If you
in any way. It wouldn't.
You could turn on television and see that these stats are correct.
Bro, you can go outside and see that they're correct.
So I mean,
sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of Black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. What no one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe
it? And there lies the problem. People like Amanda Seals have convinced themselves that even though through all recorded history, there have been terrible things that have happened to many racial groups. We have convinced ourselves that we have won the struggle Olympics and that we experienced the worst kind of human degradation that there ever was. And because of that, we can make excuses as to why we can't seem to get it together when other races of people can, right? What she doesn't understand is okay, yes, the vast majority of Asian people who came here did not arrive as slaves, right? But you have to understand what was going on in their country previously. They didn't just come here because everything was all good and dandy in China. They were experiencing plagues, famines, death, war. They were going through it too, right? But in spite of all that, they came over here and made a life for themselves. What she doesn't understand is during that second industrial revolution, a lot of Asians were imported over here as slaves in the sex trade. It was a lot of girls chained up in madams' houses or in warehouses because a lot of men were coming from the East Coast out to the West without wives. So you had a lot of Asian women who were sex slaves in some of the worst ways to where they were chained up and just getting raped. You got men coming in, they're not making any money. The only person that's making money is the people that own these warehouses, and they're just getting raped, disease ridden, all of that. But we like to act like we don't care to listen to anybody else. When people try to tell us, hey, my people went through XYZ too, it's like a form of narcissism where we don't care to listen to what anybody has to say, but we expect people to empathize with our pain. And that's just not how life works. If you are unwilling to listen to anybody else, and if you feel like you can dismiss their pain or what their ancestors went through, then you can't possibly expect for them to care about anything you have to say.
The truth, there's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of West.
Hey Jamal, what's up? Annoying as she is, I love her, and she is I don't find her to be an intelligent person. I find her to be very obnoxious. What's wrong with Amanda Seals? Honestly and truly, if I say this, it's going to sound mean, but Amanda Seals' real problem is that I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say what it really is. Let me say this. Most women need, I'm not going to say that because that's too raw for y'all. That's too real. I know what her real problem is. Okay. We are certainly top 5 in scriptures also suggest that. Okay. I wouldn't say we're top 5. And I wouldn't say that the scriptures suggest that. You know, I know y'all like to say we the Hebrew Israelites. I don't believe that. I don't agree to that. I don't subscribe to that. And again, why are we so obsessed and in competition with everybody else as to who had it worse in the world? Do y'all know that the Aztecs were sacrificing their own people at the altar and literally cutting out their hearts Like, there's so many atrocities that have happened all throughout human history. Why do we have to be in the business of saying we went through the worst stuff? And what badge of honor does that get us? That's why we're in the position that we're in now. And we continue to want to run the race in the struggle Olympics. Hi, work, play hard, sheesh. You fine with big sense. Big W. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you.
In Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using Black-only dormitories because Black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other Black men.
I'm going to be completely honest. Now, let me be clear. All of my best, not all of them, most of my best girlfriends are Black. I have a Black family and we all, for the most part, get along. But that is because we don't hang around other ghetto Black people. So there are a lot of people in my family who are just simply not invited. You're not invited to the cookout. You're not invited to the birthday party. You're not invited to the wedding. You're not invited because you don't know how to act. And all you want to do is fight, argue, escalate the situation, fight your own family members, threaten your own family members. So we have weeded out all the people who don't behave. Rather than choosing to be a family that never gets together because nobody gets along, we just decided, let's weed out all of the bad apples. Same with my girlfriends who are Black. They don't hang out with ghetto people. But guess what? Because they don't hang out with ghetto people, they have very, very few friends. Our circle is very small and their cutoff game it is real quick. Okay. So I've never felt safest around just a whole lot of Black people. I'm just being honest. I remember I told you I used to work in the club. When I tried to work at the Black clubs, I was like, oh, baby, no, I'm going right back over here with the Mexicans because y'all do not know how to act. And I'm going to the Latina club. I'm going over here where I don't have to work. Y'all, one night I was working and I had my work outfit on and I came back to change into some jeans and like they stole my jeans. You literally stole my jeans. They was, and again, I'm not characterizing all Black people in this manner. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's bad enough to where you just don't want to be in an environment to where there is too many. You want to be able to vet the ones that you are around. I'm just being honest because our culture promotes degeneracy. And we can blame the music all day, but everybody listens to rap music. There is something, people try to make it seem like rap music is the reason why our culture has devolved into this. But I feel like there was something about our culture that was already present that makes us more susceptible to engaging in some of the highest levels of degeneracy.
And why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when Black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my
Tell me.
God, this is scary.
That's a good
You
point.
need to think
Thanks.
about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion.
What?
So let's check that now.
What did he say was
Okay.
disrespectful?
So
I don't
on a
know.
So this is why people don't like her. Let me rewind that so y'all can see. He didn't say anything rude. He made a point, but because he made a valid point, she tried to check him for disrespect. Could have never been me sitting there.
Against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using Black-only dormitories because Black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other Black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when Black men are more likely to kill me?
oh my
Tell me.
God, this is scary.
That's a good
You
point.
need to think
Thanks.
about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion.
What?
So let's check that now.
What did he say was
Okay.
disrespectful?
So
This is where the angry Black woman stereotype, women like this angry, college educated, snub attitude, think that I'm better than anybody, think that people have to tiptoe and walk on eggshells. He made a very valid point. He wasn't rude to her. He didn't yell at her. He didn't disrespect her. He didn't attack her character. He made a very valid point about why should I be scared of a white person when I am more likely to be unalived by somebody that looks like me, which is absolutely true. The statistics bear it out. But honestly and truly, do you really need statistics? Do you really need it? Do you really need it to know that that's true? I think not. Let's stop being intellectually dishonest. And she was like, you need to think about me as your mama. You're not his mother. Y'all are in a debate. He didn't call you out your name. He didn't use any ad hominem attacks. As far as I'm concerned, I showed y'all the hierarchy of disagreement last time I was on live. It was at a couple lives ago. He is arguing at the top of the hierarchy, which is refuting the point, or at the very least providing counter arguments. But because he too much pressure, she wants to make it seem like he's disrespecting her. When, ma'am, who are you? But this is the level of entitlement, elitist, and classist attitude that these liberals have, and they expect respect. So no, Amanda Seals, people don't dislike you because you're smarter than them. They dislike you because you are angry and snub and you're mean. And you think people are supposed to bow down to you. That's the problem. It's your attitude. It's you. You're not a likable person.
On a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that Black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So
They
there's
are right
simply
now.
no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism. And we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to...
I see the way she's talking, not even please do not cut me off. She being very disrespectful while demanding respect. Entitlement mentality. So there's no winning an argument with a person like this because they're simply entitled. And if this wasn't her issue, something else would be her issue. A person like this, if she wasn't a Black woman with a reason to be upset because of slavery, she was another race, she would find something else to be upset about.
Discriminate Black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
So this is a fact check. Redlining is the practice of denying mortgages to those who lived in neighborhoods considered risky. Lenders targeted Black and immigrant communities in urban areas. The practice was outlawed in 1968. Let me tell you something. And here's the thing. Redlining did exist, but and again, I will say this, it is a racist practice, but honestly and truly, it's not without cause. And I'm seeing this kind of happen. I think when we learned about white flight, we were taught that, like, Black people moved in and white people immediately started moving out the neighborhoods. But now that I've actually been able to see it in real time, so for example, y'all know I'm from Dallas, Texas. A lot of the Black people started moving to the southern suburbs of Dallas. They used to be white, like DeSoto, Lancaster. So what happened is the white people moved further south to places like Waxahachie and Red Oak. However, what I have been able to witness now is that a lot of the Black people that are in the southern suburbs are like, and now that they're all Black, they're like, I want to get away from these people. They're ghetto. This is what they say. This is not my words. They say this. I want to take my kids out of the environment. these people are ghetto, and they don't realize you're leaving, but your children are engaging in the same type of behavior that you accuse your neighbors of doing, or calling them ghetto, and you're taking those same behaviors into these white areas. So as a result, school disciplining has gone up, crime in these areas have gone up. Of course, you have those tensions because there's just a blatant cultural difference. And slowly, the white people are moving further south. But it doesn't have much to do with racism as much as it has to do with y'all are going into their neighborhood and completely changing the social dynamic and fabric. Where their kids used to be able to sit in the classroom and learn, their kids can't sit in the classroom and learn anymore because your kids are constantly fighting in class. Your kids are constantly cussing out the teacher. And it's not to say that white children don't behave this way at times, but when we look at the frequency of it, it's off the chain. It's off the chain, right? So I'm pretty sure 20 years from now, if somebody tries to, some critical race theorist tries to retell the story, they will say all of the investment got taken out of that community now because white people, hated that black people moved in and they moved out. And there's going to be absolutely no accountability for a lot of the behaviors that make them say, well, we don't want to live in close proximity to y'all. And honestly and truly, when people move out, they take their money with them. Their money doesn't have to stay in that community, right? And that's how you have investment go out of the community. If people felt like they could invest in Black communities and people and the stores weren't going to get robbed, they didn't have to worry about people feeling unsafe. Why would people not invest in a community that is wholesome, that makes them money, where they can be assured that their business is going to thrive? That's not how it works. But we expect people to invest in our communities and take all the BS that comes with it, even if it's at a personal and financial loss to them. And that's just not how life works. That's just not how people do business. No, nowhere on this earth do people do business like that.
No,
anymore.
I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist.
Not
And
anymore.
stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact. And there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at.
Oh boy, I remember
I mean, that is true. But also, if you move into a neighborhood and people with money move out because you don't know how to act, that is going to bring the value of the property down. And can you blame them? People don't have to stay where they don't want to be. Point blank, period. And there's nothing we can do about it. So this goes back to people like Amanda Seals trying to force people to do what they don't want to do. When honestly and truly, if we were the best, I've never heard somebody say, if you go to like Plano, Frisco, where there are other minority groups, there are a lot of like Asians over there. I've never ever heard anybody say, in modern days, when it comes to Asians who were like making money and going to college, I've never heard anybody move out the neighborhood because an Asian moved into their community. Absolutely not. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be quiet. They're going to go to work. They're going to come home. They're going to come study. You're not going to have no problems.